When God is setting the stage for true love, it rarely looks the way you expect it to. You think it's going to be instant, easy, and picture perfect. But instead, he allows you to walk through seasons where you feel unseen, overlooked, maybe even forgotten. And that's not because he's punishing you. It's because he's preparing you. See, God doesn't build love the way the world does. The world builds it on feelings, but God builds it on foundations. He builds it on trust, on patience, on purpose. And before he brings someone into your life, he wants to make sure the ground of your heart can hold the weight of real love. That's why you faced rejection. That's why some relationships fell apart. That's why you had to spend nights wondering, when is it going to be my turn? Because God was clearing the stage of counterfeits so the real story could be written. When God sets the stage, he's not just preparing you, he's preparing them too. While you're learning patience, they're learning responsibility. While you're healing, they're being strengthened. And when the time is right, your paths align, not by accident, but by divine appointment. And here's the difference: you won't have to force it. You won't have to beg for their attention or question their commitment. Because when love is God-ordained, it comes with peace. Not the kind of peace that makes everything easy, but the kind that makes everything clear. True love in God's timing doesn't just make you feel complete. It points you back to the one who completes you. It doesn't just make you happy. It makes you holy. It makes you holy. It doesn't just fill a void. It pushes you both toward destiny. So if you're waiting, don't despise the season you're in. Don't think God forgot. The stage is being set. The lights are being arranged. And when the curtain opens, you'll see why every delay was necessary. Because when God writes the love story, it's not just romance, it's revelation. When God is setting the stage for true love, the process does not look like the romantic movies or the instant happily ever after stories we often imagine. Instead, it is a journey of transformation, timing, and deep spiritual preparation where everything that feels like delay or denial is actually divine construction. Because real love cannot be rushed into existence and true connection cannot be forced. It has to be built on the kind of foundation that only God can prepare. He begins first with you, shaping your character, healing your brokenness, teaching you patience, and aligning your heart so that you are not looking for another person to complete you, but rather to complement you. Because when two incomplete and unhealed people try to form a relationship, they only magnify each other's wounds. But when God heals you and strengthens you, you begin to attract a love that is healthy, whole, and purposeful. And while you are waiting, you may feel lonely, rejected, or even forgotten. But those feelings are not the end of your story. They are part of the refining process that strips away counterfeit relationships, removes distractions, and clears the stage so the right person can walk in at the right time. In the waiting, you are tested not to destroy you, but to develop you, because loneliness teaches you to find your worth in God. Rejection teaches you resilience, and delay teaches you discipline, all of which become vital ingredients for sustaining love when it finally arrives. At the same time, God is also working in the life of the person he is preparing for you, and you may not see it now. But while you are learning patience, they may be learning responsibility. While you are discovering purpose, they may be discovering humility. And when both journeys align at the appointed time, there is no struggle to make things happen because divine timing brings divine peace. And when true love comes from God, it doesn't bring confusion, anxiety, or fear. Instead, it brings clarity, certainty, and an unshakable peace that surpasses understanding, because his kind of love is not just emotional, it is spiritual. It doesn't only make you feel happy, but also makes you holy. It doesn't simply fill the empty spaces of your life, but propels you both toward destiny. And when you experience this kind of love, you realize why the waiting mattered, why the past heartbreaks had to happen, and why God did not let temporary feelings become permanent mistakes. Because the story he is writing is bigger than your desire for companionship. It is about reflecting his love, Building a partnership that aligns with his purpose and showing the world that real love is possible when it is authored by the Creator himself. So if you are in the waiting season right now, do not despise it. Do not believe the lie that God has forgotten you, because the stage is being set, that the lights are being arranged, and the curtain will open at the perfect moment. And when it does, you will understand that the waiting was never wasted. It was weaving together a story that no human hand could write, a story where every delay had meaning, every rejection had purpose. And every season of loneliness was actually preparation for a love that is lasting, unshakable, and deeply rooted in God's design. Because when he writes the love story, it is not just romance. It is revelation. It is not just attraction. It is alignment. Your alignment. And it is not just about finding someone to live with. It is about finding the one you were destined to fulfill God's purpose with, proving that when he sets the stage, true love becomes not just possible, but inevitable. When God is setting the stage for true love, the process may feel confusing, slow, and at times even painful. But in reality, it is a divine orchestration where every delay, every rejection, and every unanswered question plays a role in shaping you for what is coming. Because true love is not something to stumble into accidentally. It is something that requires preparation, maturity, and alignment. And that is why you may find yourself going through seasons where you are forced to wait, where people walk away from you, or where you question why things are not working out the way you hoped. Yet those very moments are not signs of God's absence, but proof of his involvement. For he is teaching you patience, healing wounds from your past, and training you to stand on a foundation stronger than fleeting emotions. The fleeting emotion. And during that waiting, you discover that love is not just about finding someone who makes you feel complete, but about becoming complete in God so that you can love without clinging, give without demanding, and commit without fear. And in that process, you are being stripped of counterfeits and temporary distractions. So the person meant for you has space to enter, because what God has for you will not compete with your peace. It will not leave you questioning your worth. It will not drain your soul. It will not drain your soul. Instead, it will confirm what he has been preparing you to believe all along, that real love begins with him, grows in him, and is sustained by him. And once your heart understands that truth, you begin to see why the journey had to take time, why every past disappointment was necessary, and why the stage had to be cleared before the curtain could rise. At the same time, while you are learning these lessons and being prepared for love, God is also working on the person he has chosen for you, shaping their character, developing their faith, and aligning their path with yours so that when the moment of connection arrives, it is not by accident, but by divine appointment. And when it happens, you will notice that the love ordained by God does not come with confusion or chaos, but with clarity and confirmation. Not the kind of peace that removes all challenges, but the kind that makes you certain in the middle of challenges. And that is why his love is different. It does not only make you happy for a moment, it makes you holy for a lifetime. It does not just fulfill desires, but directs destiny. It does not just excite your emotions, but anchors your purpose. And when this kind of love enters your life, you realize why you had to endure the loneliness, why you had to survive the heartbreaks, why you had to grow in ways you never asked for, because every test became training, every delay became development, and every closed door was a redirection to the right one. And when the story finally unfolds, it will not just be romance, it will be revelation. It will not just be attraction, it will be alignment. And it will not just be about sharing a life with someone, but about walking into God's purpose together, proving that when he sets the stage, the love that arrives is not fragile or fleeting, but strong, secure and sacred, the kind of love that was worth waiting for, and worth trusting him for all along. When God is setting the stage for true love, it rarely looks like the dream you imagined. Because his way of building love is not about speed, but about depth. Not about what feels good in the moment, but about what will last for a lifetime. And that is why the first stage often looks like waiting, rejection, or delay. And in those seasons you may ask yourself why things are not working out, why people walk away, or why relationships seem to fall apart before they even begin. Yet what feels like loss is actually protection. What feels like silence is actually preparation. And what feels like emptiness is actually the space where God is planting something new. And during this time, He focuses not only on your desire to have love, but on your need to become whole. Because He knows that two broken people cannot build something healthy. So He begins to heal your heart, refine your character, and strengthen your identity until you are no longer seeking someone to complete you, but are becoming the kind of person who can give and receive love without fear. And every moment of that preparation becomes part of the foundation, teaching you patience, helping you let go of counterfeits, and guiding you to trust His timing even when you cannot trace His hand. At the same time, while He is shaping you, He is also shaping the one He has chosen for you, because divine love is never one-sided. And just as you are walking through seasons of pruning and growth, they are being prepared on their own journey. And this is what makes God's timing so powerful. Because when two people who have been refined, tested, and developed come together, it does not happen by coincidence but by divine orchestration. And the connection carries a peace that the world cannot explain. The kind of peace that does not erase all challenges, but gives you the confidence to face those challenges together. And you begin to recognize the difference between what was temporary and what is eternal. Because true love does not drain your spirit or cause you to question your worth. Instead, it aligns with your calling, affirms your value, and pushes you toward the destiny God has placed over your life. And when this love appears, you will notice it does not need to be forced, manipulated, or begged for, because what comes from God comes with clarity. And you realize that what seemed like a delay was actually divine alignment, bringing two lives together at the exact moment they were both ready. And when the story finally unfolds, you will see that it was never just about romance. It was always about revelation. Because true love from God reflects His heart, carries His purpose, and endures through trials. And this is why the waiting mattered, why the heartbreaks were necessary, and why He did not allow you to settle for less than what He intended. Because He was writing a story bigger than your feelings. A story that would not just bring you happiness, but also holiness. Not just companionship, but also calling. And in that moment, you will understand that every test was training, every delay was development, and every unanswered prayer was actually being answered in a greater way. And when you look back, you will see that the stage had to be cleared of counterfeits, so the real could stand in the spotlight. And the love that God brings will not only feel right, but will also be rooted in something unshakable, a love that was worth the wait, worth the prayers, and worth the trust. Because when He sets the stage for true love, what arrives is not fragile or fleeting, but strong, sacred, and designed to last. The kind of love that proves His timing is always perfect. When God is setting the stage for true love, the journey often begins with seasons that feel confusing and uncertain, because instead of rushing you into relationships that will not last, He carefully prepares the ground of your heart so that the love He brings can stand firm on a strong foundation. And this preparation can feel uncomfortable because it often shows up as rejection, delay, or silence, making you wonder if you have been forgotten. But in truth, you are not being denied. You are being developed. For the Creator knows that before you can fully give yourself to another, you must first understand who you are in Him. And this is why the waiting is so important, because it strips away the illusions that love is only about feelings and teaches you that true love is about purpose, growth, and trust. Pray. And in that process, He heals old wounds, removes people who are not meant to stay, and allows you to discover strength and patience within yourself that you did not know you had. And though it may be hard to see in the moment, All of this becomes the necessary groundwork for the kind of love that is built to endure. As you walk through this preparation, it becomes clear that love is not simply about companionship, but about alignment. And while you are learning patience and resilience, the one who is meant for you is also being shaped by their own journey. Because God never prepares one without preparing the other. And this means that while you are learning to trust Him through seasons of waiting, they are being taught responsibility, humility, and commitment. And when the right time comes, both of your paths will align in such a way that no human plan could have arranged it. Because the meeting is not random, but orchestrated, not forced, but flowing. And when it happens, the difference will be undeniable, for you will not need to chase, beg, or convince, because what is ordained by God comes with peace, and that peace may not remove all obstacles, but it will give you the confidence to face them together. And this is the mark of true love, that it does not pull you away from your calling, but pushes you deeper into it, strengthening both of you in faith and character. When this love appears, you will recognize it not by how loud it is, but by how steady it feels. Because the world may promise excitement and instant gratification, but what God builds brings clarity, consistency, and confidence. And instead of leaving you drained or questioning your worth, it affirms who you are and aligns with who you are becoming. And that is why it is important to trust the process, even when it feels slow. Because real love is not a race, it is a revelation. And the delay you thought was wasted time is actually divine timing, protecting you from heartbreaks that could have derailed your destiny. And as you reflect on the path you walked to arrive there, you begin to see that every closed door, every season of loneliness, and every tear you shed had a purpose, for they were shaping you to appreciate what was coming and to recognize the difference between temporary infatuation and eternal connection. And that recognition is what gives you the strength to guard and nurture the relationship once it arrives. And when the story finally comes together, you realize that it was never just about having someone by your side, but about walking in purpose together. Because the kind of love God writes is not fragile or shallow. It is strong, sacred, and deeply rooted in Him. And this is why it is worth waiting for, worth trusting for, and worth believing in even when the journey feels long. Because the moment the curtain rises and the stage is revealed, you will see that nothing was wasted, that every moment of pain was part of the preparation, and that the love you now hold is not only a gift, but a reflection of His heart, one that makes you not just happier, but holier, not just satisfied, but purposeful. And in that moment, all of the questions and doubts will fade, replaced with gratitude that the author of your story knew exactly what he was doing, proving once again that His timing is perfect and His plan for true love is always greater than anything you could have imagined for yourself. When God is setting the stage for true love, the process begins in ways that are often hidden and unnoticed. Because before He ever brings someone into your life, He begins by working in the deepest parts of your own heart, shaping, refining, and preparing you for something greater than you could have imagined. And though it feels like a season of waiting or even disappointment, what is really happening is that He is removing what does not belong, so that what is meant for you can have space to arrive. And this is why some relationships collapse, why certain people walk away, or why doors you tried to open remain closed. Because those were never the doors that could carry the weight of the future He is building. And in those moments, you may be tempted to believe you are forgotten or overlooked. But the truth is that you are being protected, and this protection is one of the clearest signs that God is involved, because He does not let you settle for something temporary when He is preparing you for something eternal. During this stage of preparation, the lessons you learn may feel heavy, but they are shaping you into someone who can both give and receive love in a way that is healthy and lasting. Because true love is not about two broken people trying to fill each other's emptiness. It is about two whole people coming together to walk in purpose, and that wholeness can only be found in Him, which is why He often leads you through seasons of solitude, teaching you how to find your identity in him, how to rest in his promises, and how to build strength that does not depend on anyone else. And as these lessons take root, you begin to recognize that love is not just about excitement or emotions, but about commitment, sacrifice, and growth. And those who are not willing to embrace these qualities slowly fall away, leaving behind a clearer path for the one who is being prepared to walk toward you. At the same time, the one who is meant for you is also being prepared, because God never works on one side of the story alone. And just as you are learning patience and trust, they are learning responsibility and resilience. And though you cannot see it now, their journey is mirroring yours in ways you will only recognize when your paths finally cross. And this is the beauty of divine timing, that two people who might have been unprepared for each other in the past will meet at the perfect moment when they are both ready to. And when that moment comes, you will see the difference between what is forced and what is orchestrated, because what comes from God will not require manipulation or chasing. It will arrive with clarity and peace, and even when challenges arise, that peace will hold you steady, confirming that this love is not built on shifting sand, but on the solid foundation of God's design. When that love enters your life, you will notice how it does not distract you from your calling, but strengthens it, because the right person will not pull you away from your destiny, but will help you walk into it more fully. And instead of draining your spirit, they will encourage your growth. And instead of leaving you insecure, they will affirm your value. And instead of making you question where you stand, they will bring stability and trust. And this kind of relationship is not fragile or shallow, but deeply rooted in purpose. And that purpose is what allows it to withstand storms and endure challenges, because love that is only built on feelings may fade, but love that is built on faith grows stronger over time. And the moment you begin to experience this, you will realize that every season of waiting, every tear you shed, and every unanswered prayer was actually preparing you for something far greater than what you first asked for. And when the story finally unfolds, you will see with perfect clarity why it had to happen the way it did. Because the waiting was never wasted, the heartbreaks were never meaningless, and the delays were never denial. They were all part of the grand design that cleared away the counterfeit so the authentic could step into the spotlight. And as you step into that relationship, you will find not just happiness, but holiness, not just companionship, but calling, not just romance, but revelation. And you will realize that God was never ignoring your prayers. He was exceeding them, giving you not only someone to share life with, but someone to fulfill destiny with. And in that moment, gratitude will replace every question and peace will silence every doubt, proving that his timing is always perfect, and that the love he authors is worth every moment of waiting, every season of preparation, and every test of faith along the way. When God is setting the stage for true love, the beginning often feels like nothing is happening at all, because the preparation he does in secret rarely looks like the fulfillment you have been praying for. And instead of immediately answering your desire, he first begins to deal with the foundations of your life, removing habits, relationships, and attachments that would only damage you in the long run. And this can feel like rejection or abandonment, but in reality, it is protection. Because his love for you is too great to allow you to settle for something temporary when he has something lasting in mind. And so the empty spaces, the closed doors, and the broken relationships are not punishments, but clear signs that he is rearranging your life to make room for something real. And when you see this season through the lens of faith, you understand that what looks like delay is actually divine design. In those seasons of waiting, you are being trained in patience. And patience is not simply about learning how to sit still, but about learning how to trust that God is moving, even when you cannot see it. And this trust builds character, because love that is shallow cannot survive storms. But love that has been prepared through seasons of endurance becomes strong enough to last. And as you walk through the refining fire of waiting, you find yourself becoming stronger, wiser, and more complete. Learning that you do not need another person to define your worth, but that your identity is already secure in God. And this shift is vital because two broken souls looking for completion in each other can never build a lasting foundation. But two whole people walking together in alignment can carry the weight of a relationship designed by heaven. While you are being prepared, the one meant for you is also undergoing their own process. And though you cannot see their journey, you must believe that they are learning the lessons they need so that when your paths finally meet, both of you are ready. And this is the beauty of divine timing. That what would not have worked before will come together perfectly when God says it is time. And in that moment, you will be able to look back and see how everything lined up. The rejection that saved you from the wrong person. The delay that matured your character. The loneliness that taught you how to rely on God. All of it leading to a connection that could not have been forced by human effort, but was clearly orchestrated by divine hands. And the peace that accompanies it will be unlike anything you have ever known. A deep confirmation that this is not just love, but alignment. When this kind of love enters your life, it does not drain you or confuse you, but instead builds you up, reminding you of your value and encouraging you to walk boldly into your purpose. Because true love from God does not distract you from destiny, but draws you closer to it. And the person he sends will not compete with your calling, but will complement it, helping you grow in faith, in strength, and in commitment. And you will find that instead of constant striving, there is a natural flow, a sense of unity that comes not from human effort, but from spiritual design. And even though challenges will arise, the foundation will hold, because what God establishes cannot be shaken by storms. As you experience this love, you begin to recognize why every step of the process mattered. Because had you received what you wanted too soon, it might have destroyed you. But because you waited, you are now able to see the difference between counterfeit affection and authentic connection. And that recognition fills you with gratitude for every trial you endured, because those trials taught you to discern, to appreciate, and to protect what is real. And this gratitude transforms how you handle the relationship, because you do not take it for granted. You nurture it. You honor it. And you value it as the sacred gift it truly is, knowing it was built by divine hands and strengthened by seasons of preparation. And when the full picture is revealed, you come to understand that the story was never only about you finding someone to love, but about God showing you his faithfulness. Because the relationship he writes into your life becomes not just a source of companionship, but a reflection of his heart. A testimony of his timing, and a living example that his ways are higher than yours. And in that moment, you see clearly that every delay was on purpose, every heartbreak was redirection, and every waiting season was filled with meaning. And what you now hold is not fragile or fleeting, but strong, sacred and lasting, the kind of love that makes you not just happier, but holier, not just satisfied, but purposeful. And the gratitude you feel becomes a testimony that his plan was always greater than your own, proving that his timing is perfect and his love is worth the wait.